6 feet below the surface of a northern Wisconsin lake, a shadow holds position. 40 inches of muscle and instinct. The muskie's pale eyes track movement through the wheat bed, a yellow perch, unaware. One explosive burst. Teeth like daggers. The hunt is over in less than a second. This is predation in its purest form. And in the freshwater ecosystems of the United States, few forces shape the balance of life quite like the apex predators that patrol these waters. Across America's rivers, lakes, and reservoirs, a hierarchy exists beneath the surface. At the top sit the predators, species built not just to survive, but to hunt. Largemouth bass lurking in flooded timber. Northern pike holding motionless in shallow weeds. Muskellunge patrolling the edges between deep and shallow water. These are the apex predators of freshwater America, and their influence extends far beyond their individual hunts. The story of these fish is written in evolution. Sharp teeth. Forward-facing eyes. Muscle fibers designed for explosive acceleration. Bodies built for the ambush, the strike, the kill. But it's also written in American culture, in the tournaments that draw thousands, the traditions passed down through generations, the countless hours anglers have spent pursuing what many consider the ultimate freshwater challenge. Hello my friends, welcome to American Fishing Atlas. Subscribe to the channel, share and like. Thank you. Predatory fish occupy a unique position in both ecology and human imagination. In the ecosystem, they regulate prey populations, shaping the structure of entire fish communities. In fishing culture, they represent achievement, skill, and the primal connection between hunter and hunted. To understand American freshwater fishing is to understand its predators. This exploration focuses on the most formidable, the species that have captured American anglers' attention for over a century. Not an exhaustive catalog, but representative examples of the predators that define freshwater fishing across the nation. From the widespread largemouth bass to the elusive muskellunge, these fish share common traits while occupying distinct niches in America's waters. What makes a fish a predator? The answer lies in specialization, in adaptations refined over millions of years. The predatory fishes of North America share a body plan designed for one purpose: capturing and consuming other animals. Long, torpedo-shaped bodies provide acceleration. Dorsal, anal, and caudal fins positioned toward the rear deliver explosive power from a standstill. Large mouths armed with rows of sharp teeth ensure that prey, once struck, rarely escapes. Vision plays a central role. Forward-positioned eyes provide binocular vision, allowing precise depth perception crucial for timing strikes. In murky water or low light, the lateral line system takes over, a network of sensors running along each side of the body, detecting vibrations and pressure changes from prey movement. A fish swimming 30 feet away creates a signature these predators can read with precision. Temperature governs everything. As cold-blooded predators, their metabolism rises and falls with water temperature. In warm water, 70 degrees and above, their digestive systems work rapidly, demanding frequent feeding. Drop below 50 degrees, and metabolism slows, reducing food requirements but also limiting activity. Below 40 degrees, most predatory feeding nearly stops. Consider the largemouth bass, Micropterus nigricans, perhaps America's most recognized predatory fish. Found from Florida to Minnesota, from Texas to Maine, the largemouth represents predation at its most adaptable. Adults typically reach 12 to 18 inches, though specimens exceeding 22 inches and 10 pounds swim in southern waters. The current unofficial record approaches 26 pounds, a fish that commanded its territory through sheer dominance. Bass exhibit classic ambush predation. They position near structure, a fallen tree, a weed edge, a dock piling, and wait. Prey fish approaching this cover trigger the strike response. The bass accelerates from stillness, opens its large mouth creating suction, and inhales the prey. The entire sequence occurs in less than 1/10 of a second. Studies show bass can capture prey items up to 60% of their body length, though 30 to 45% proves more typical. Their diet reveals opportunistic versatility. Juvenile bass under 5 inches consume insects and small crustaceans. Beyond that size threshold, they shift to a fish-based diet: bluegill, shad, minnows, whatever swims within their strike zone. But bass also take crayfish, frogs, small snakes, even mice or ducklings venturing onto the water. Anything that fits in their mouth qualifies as potential prey. The northern pike, Esox lucius, brings a different hunting strategy to American waters. Where bass favor warmth and vegetation, pike thrive in cooler northern lakes and rivers. They range from Alaska through Canada into the northern tier of states, with populations throughout the Great Lakes region and upper Midwest. Pike are built for the ambush. Their elongated bodies, marked with light spots on a darker background, provide camouflage in weedy shallows. They lie motionless, sometimes for hours, fins barely moving to maintain position. When prey approaches, often within a body length, the pike strikes with remarkable speed, using its rear-positioned fins to generate explosive acceleration. Research documents burst speeds exceeding 12 miles per hour from a dead stop. Those teeth define the species. Hundreds of backward-pointing teeth line both jaws, ensuring that prey, once grabbed, cannot escape. Pike typically sees prey sideways, use those teeth to immobilize it, then manipulate the catch to swallow it head first. They pursue anything up to 1/3 their body length, and pike in the 30 to 40-inch range commonly target 12-inch prey fish. Northern pike exhibit feeding patterns tied to season and temperature. In late spring and summer, when water temperatures reach the 60s and 70s, pike feed aggressively. Fall brings increased activity as they build reserves for winter. During ice-covered months, pike continue hunting, though at a reduced pace. Unlike bass, which largely stop feeding in cold water, pike remain active predators year-round. At the apex sits the muskellunge, Esox maskinongi, the largest member of the pike family, and the true apex predator in waters where it occurs naturally. Muskies reach 4 to 5 feet in length, with verified specimens approaching 60 pounds. The name comes from Ojibwe words meaning great fish or ugly pike, and both descriptions fit this formidable hunter. Muskies inhabit clear, cool lakes and rivers across the northern United States and southern Canada. Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, and New York hold significant populations, both natural and stocked. Unlike pike, which tolerates smaller waters, muskies require larger systems, lakes of at least several hundred acres, rivers with substantial flow. Their hunting behavior reflects their size. Muskies patrol specific home ranges, moving between shallow feeding areas and deeper resting zones. They prefer structure, weed edges, rock outcrops, submerged timber, where they can ambush prey with devastating efficiency. When hunting, a muskie can accelerate to over 30 miles per hour in a burst that lasts mere seconds. The muskie's diet includes any fish available in appropriate size: yellow perch, suckers, cisco, even smaller muskies. But they also take muskrats, ducks, and the occasional water snake. Stomach contents from large muskies sometimes reveal prey measuring 2 feet or more, testament to their capacity to consume massive meals. The history of predatory fish in American culture begins with necessity and evolves into passion. Native peoples across North America understood these predators intimately. Archaeological evidence reveals that bass, pike, and muskies provided protein for communities throughout their ranges. Fishing techniques varied: spears, weirs, hook and line made from bone and plant fiber, but the target remained consistent, the largest predators the waters offered. European colonists brought new techniques and perspectives. By the mid-1800s, recreational angling for bass emerged in the South. The largemouth bass, with its aggressive strikes and willingness to bite artificial lures, became a favorite. The Kentucky reel, precursor to the modern bait-casting reel, was developed specifically for bass fishing in the 1820s. Dr. James Henshall's 1881 book of the Black Bass, elevated the largemouth to iconic status. Henshall called the bass, "Inch for inch and pound for pound, the gamest fish that swims." The phrase stuck. Bass fishing exploded across America. By 1900, bass had been introduced to waters far beyond their native range, spreading from coast to coast. The 20th century brought organization. The first bass tournaments appeared in the 1950s. Ray Scott founded the Bass Anglers Sportsman Society in 1967, transforming bass fishing from pastime to professional sport. Today, the bass fishing industry generates billions in economic activity annually. More Americans fish for largemouth bass than any other freshwater species. Northern pike fishing follows different traditions, rooted in the northern tier states and Canada. Pike were abundant enough in the Great Lakes region that they supported commercial fisheries through the 1800s. Sport fishing for pike developed later than bass fishing, gaining momentum in the early 1900s as anglers recognized their fighting ability. Pike fishing culture emphasizes ice fishing as much as open water. In Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Dakotas, winter pike fishing through the ice represents a distinct tradition. Tip-ups set over weed beds, flags popping to signal a strike, the fight of a large pike under thick ice. These experiences define northern winters for countless anglers. The muskie occupies a special place in American fishing lore, the fish of 10,000 casts. That reputation reflects reality. Muskies exist at low population densities compared to other predators. In lakes that hold both pike and muskies, pike outnumber muskies 10 or 20 to 1. Combined with the muskie's tendency to follow lures without striking, anglers may fish for weeks between catches. This difficulty created a devoted following. Muskie fishing developed its own culture, dedicated anglers who pursued nothing else, logging hundreds of hours for a single fish. Wisconsin became the spiritual home of muskie fishing, with the town of Boulder Junction declaring itself muskie capital of the world. Legendary anglers like Homer LeBlanc and Larry Ramsell built reputations pursuing these fish through decades. The world record muskie, 67 pounds, 8 ounces, was caught in 1949 from Wisconsin's Chippewa flowage by Cal Johnson. That record stood for over 70 years, a testament to the rarity of truly giant muskies. Modern anglers chase that benchmark, knowing that a 50-inch, 40-pound muskie represents the catch of a lifetime. Fishing for predators demands understanding of their behavior. Bass anglers learned that structure holds fish, points, drop-offs, submerged vegetation, timber. The development of modern bass lures, plastic worms, crankbaits, spinnerbaits, reflects decades of trial and refinement. Tournament anglers developed techniques for specific conditions, flipping heavy cover, working topwater in low light, dragging bottom in deep water. Pike fishing evolved around their preference for shallow, weedy areas. Spoons, spinners, and large plugs became standard tackle. The challenge lies less in hookup, pike strike aggressively, and more in landing them. Those teeth cut through monofilament line effortlessly, leading anglers to use steel leaders. Even then, pike often throw hooks during their violent surface thrashing. Muskie fishing pushed tackle to extremes. Lures measuring 10 to 12 inches became common. Rods built for casting such baits required specialized design. The figure-8 technique, swirling the lure in a figure-8 pattern boat side, was developed because muskies often follow to the boat without striking. That final flourish of movement triggers strikes other presentations miss. The experience of catching these predators varies distinctly. A largemouth bass strikes with explosive force. The rod bends. Line screams from the reel. The fight features runs, headshakes, and frequent jumps. A 4-pound bass fights with intensity that belies its size. Landing it requires pressure balanced against the risk of pulling the hook free. Northern pike offer different resistance. The initial strike feels solid rather than explosive. Pike fight with strength more than acrobatics, using their weight and making powerful runs toward structure. They thrash violently at the surface, often throwing the hook in these final moments. Landing a pike requires controlling its head, keeping it from reaching weeds or timber where it can tangle line. Muskies present the ultimate challenge. Many strikes feel like snagging bottom, a sudden weight rather than sharp hit. Then the fish realizes it's hooked, and the battle begins. A large muskie can strip 50 yards of line on the first run. They use their size and power, making long runs into deep water. The fight might last 10 minutes or more, testing tackle and angler endurance alike. Landing a muskie often requires a net large enough to cradle a fish longer than most bass tackle boxes. The predators that shaped American fishing now face challenges unprecedented in their evolutionary history. Habitat loss affects all predatory fish, but impacts vary by species. Bass, remarkably adaptable, persist even in urban ponds and small reservoirs. They tolerate warmer water and degraded conditions better than most gamefish. This adaptability explains their success across diverse environments. Yet even bass suffer when wetlands are drained, spawning areas filled, and water quality declines. Northern pike face more severe habitat challenges. Pike require shallow, vegetated areas for spawning, marshes, flooded lowlands, tributary streams. These spawning grounds are often the first casualties of development and agricultural drainage. When pike lose access to spawning habitat, populations decline regardless of the main lake's condition. Wisconsin research documented pike spawning habitat loss across major watersheds. Between 1940 and 2000, northern Wisconsin lost over 40% of wetland acreage. Pike populations in affected lakes showed corresponding declines. Restoration efforts now focus on protecting remaining spawning areas and creating artificial spawning wetlands where natural habitat was destroyed. Muskies face the most precarious situation. Their requirement for large, high-quality waters limits their distribution. They reproduce slowly compared to other predators. Females may not spawn until age 7 or 8. Coupled with low population densities, this makes muskie populations vulnerable to overfishing and habitat degradation. Most states with muskie populations now regulate harvests strictly. Minimum size limits of 40 or 50 inches protect fish until they've spawned multiple times. Some waters prohibit muskie harvest entirely, maintaining populations for catch and release fishing. These regulations reflect recognition that muskies cannot sustain the harvest pressure that bass or pike populations absorb. Invasive species complicate conservation. Zebra mussels, originally from Eurasia, now infest many prime predator waters across the Great Lakes region and beyond. These filter-feeding mollusks clarify water dramatically, altering light penetration and plant growth. Changes cascade through food webs, affecting prey fish populations and thus predators. In some systems, invasive species create new opportunities. Round gobies, small, bottom-dwelling fish from Europe, now dominate Great Lakes nearshore areas. Bass and pike adapted quickly, incorporating gobies into their diets. Where gobies became abundant, predator growth rates actually increased. The situation demonstrates predator adaptability, though it doesn't offset other invasive species' negative impacts. Mercury contamination affects predatory fish disproportionately. As apex predators, they accumulate mercury through bioaccumulation, consuming prey fish that already carry mercury loads. Larger, older predators often contain mercury concentrations high enough to warrant consumption advisories. Many northern lakes now carry warnings about eating large pike and muskies. These advisories don't affect the fish themselves. Mercury doesn't harm them, but limit their value to anglers who want table fare. Bass face similar issues in some waters, though their smaller average size usually means lower mercury levels than pike or muskies of equivalent age. Climate change introduces new uncertainties. Warming water temperatures may benefit bass, potentially expanding their range northward. But the same warming threatens cold water predators. Muskies, which thrive in cool water, may find their southern range limits shifting northward. Pike face similar pressures. Research in Minnesota documented thermal stress in muskies when summer water temperatures exceeded 80 degrees. In extreme heat years, muskies abandon shallow areas entirely, concentrating in deep, cool refuge zones. If climate projections hold, continued warming over coming decades, the distribution of predatory fish across America will inevitably shift. Conservation efforts focus on protecting what remains while adapting to change. Habitat protection ranks highest, preserving spawning areas, maintaining water quality, protecting structural complexity that predators require. Regulations balance harvest with population sustainability. Stocking programs supplement natural reproduction where populations need help. Catch-and-release fishing has become standard practice for muskies and increasingly common for trophy bass and pike. Modern research on fish handling demonstrates that mortality can be minimized through proper technique. Quick landing, minimal handling, support of the fish's weight, rapid release. These practices allow predators to survive angling encounters and continue their ecological role. The future of predatory fish depends on human choices. Waters protected from pollution and development will continue supporting robust predator populations. Habitats restored and spawning areas preserved will allow natural reproduction. Harvest regulations that reflect each species' biology will prevent overfishing. These predators have survived for millions of years through ice ages, climate shifts, and ecosystem changes. They possess adaptability born of deep evolutionary time. What they cannot adapt to quickly is the pace of human-caused change. Habitat loss measured in acres per day, pollution accumulating faster than natural processes can dilute, harvest pressure exceeding natural reproduction. The legacy of America's predatory fish lives on beneath the surface of its waters, and within the people who pursue them. From largemouth bass in southern reservoirs to northern pike and muskies in glacial lakes, these species represent a timeless bond between anglers and wild places. They embody instinct, patience, and the primal encounter between hunter and hunted, passed down through generations in quiet lessons on casting, waiting, and respect. Beyond sport, they support entire cultures and economies, anchoring traditions, livelihoods, and a shared sense of identity rooted in freshwater landscapes. Yet their true value goes deeper than recreation or revenue. As apex predators, these fish maintain balance in aquatic ecosystems, shaping healthy, resilient waters. Their future depends on choices made today: habitat protection, sustainable fishing practices, and informed conservation. As science advances and new challenges emerge, the responsibility falls to each generation to protect what it inherits. As long as the waters remain, the hunt will continue, silent, ancient, and enduring, reminding us that beneath the surface, wildness still thrives.